Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici, welcome my friends. My name is Vincenzo and welcome to my channel, and that channel is Fountain Pen Therapy. Welcome to another weekly recap. I'm really excited because I had a really rough week, folks. Just an absolutely very exhausting week. Very little chance to play with my pens. No fountain pen therapy other than whatever therapy I managed to get when I was writing at the office. Long hours this week. So you know what? Well-deserved break. I'm back in my studio. We've got lots of stuff to show you. Both paper, ink, and pens. Got all kinds of ideas going. And as you know, I'm going to try to provide you the passion and the therapy that you need to entertain you and to inform you. So without any further ado, Fountain Pen Therapy, and yes, Vincenzo presents the weekly recap for February the 15th, 2026. Okay, so we're back, but before we start the recap going, and we got lots of things to discuss, so I'll make this quick. I think I owe all my viewers apologies for technical difficulties in my last week's recap. First of all, you probably may have noticed, and several of you did and advised me, there were two glitches in that recap. Unfortunately, I ended up publishing the unedited version of my recap by mistake, and by the time I realized it, and by the time it was just too late to make any corrections, and YouTube didn't allow me to make any corrections, because typically I use music that is purchased from a site, so there is no copyright issues. I obtain licenses for every music, for all music that I use in all my videos. I have a monthly subscription, etc. And typically what happens, unless it's a preordained copyright-free music, you may use some music, you publish it, a copyright strike comes back from YouTube saying there's a copyright claim on that music you're using. You then have to submit a dispute, show them you have your license, and 1 or 2 days later, sometimes even the same day, the copyright owner gets back to you and says, fine, I accept your dispute, and everything gets resolved. But while the dispute is in question, you're not allowed to make any edits. You can't use the tools that are available on YouTube to make corrections, deletions, etc. So I wasn't able to delete the two glitches. So you will forgive me for that. And, this is not the first time I've made little glitches like that. It won't be the last. Secondly, I heard some of you complain that my sound is a little bit questionable. So I've been having issues with my microphone. It may perhaps be time for me to change this lovely red HyperX. I understand there's an HyperX 2 out, so maybe we'll get a new one. We shall see if the problems persist. then it may be that this microphone has had it and we'll change it. But please let me know. Hopefully I've resolved whatever issues there are in sound, and we won't have that problem. But if we do, please let me know. So let's get into the recap. First part, of course, is to take a look at market news. Let's go to my computer. Okay, so we're back with the first segment, which is going to be market news. What's new out there? Let's go to my computer and take a look at what I found very interesting. So here we go. And we'll start out with Chinese. Now, I haven't seen anything, interesting on AliExpress, frankly, that I haven't talked to you about already. One thing I discovered, and I think it was, I forget the reviewer, but it must have been For the Love of Pens, or I think that's the name of the channel. He informed us that there is a Andean M2 titanium pen that is out. I hadn't taken notice. It wasn't really flagged very clearly anywhere, at least not from my sources. But this is Amazon. It's offered now in titanium. So I really like the brass version. Where is it? Right here. I thought that this is, among probably my best pocket pen after a Grail pocket pen that I just recently purchased, which will be reviewed sometime soon, which I mentioned already. It's my mini Delta Dolce Vita. But in terms of affordable pocket pens, this M2 in the brass version, I think was very good. And now they have it in titanium. So I've ordered it. If you're interested, there you have it. It's on AliExpress, I believe, is the only place where it's being sold right now. And we shall be reviewing it sometime soon. There's, of course, the Asvine J16, which has reappeared. It's come back. It was on pre-order, and all of a sudden, we've seen it pop back into the picture. And we'll talk about this J16 as it's one of my pen hauls in just a few minutes. We'll get back to it soon. In terms of, so that's it really in terms of Chinese. I don't have much more for you. There's this very interesting Platinum 3776 Century 2.0. So it's their new edition. What you have to notice is the price has really gone up on the Platinum. I think Platinum and Sailor have increased their prices like 40%. So this is 352 euros on Stilo and Stile in Italy. 350 euros, you're talking almost $500 plus Canadian for a Platinum 3776. Personally, I am quite disappointed. I'm glad I managed to purchase my Platinum. I have one in my collection. I'm tempted by this new version, but not at 352 euros and not at $500. I think it's a big mistake for them to have increased their prices that way, but time will tell. Time will tell. What else have I got for you? Oh yes, Casa della Stilografica has got this coming soon, this beautiful new Delta. It's the Delta Indigenous People Bajau fountain pen. Just gorgeous. It's very expensive, 729 euros. If you think the Platinum is expensive, so is this. But this, I think, has a lot more to offer. What else have we got for you? I just took a look at, I hadn't looked at it for a while. Giardino Italiano has quite a few offerings here that are very, very interesting. And the one I wanted to show you is if you're interested in buying a Nettuno pen, here you go. You got the Nettuno NE 2.0. Very nice colors at 190 euros. You can get it in this beautiful blue. They also have it in black, I believe. Very, very nice. I'm really tempted to get this blue one, but I was thinking about getting another Nettuno, but there you have it. And they've got several other offerings that may be of interest. They also got a fidelity discount, which is essentially you get $10 or you get $1 for every $10 you spend on your next purchase. So it's essentially a discount of 10% on your next purchase. You've got the Delta LE, 3 models there that are being sold. You've got a bunch of Aurora pens, if that's what you're interested in. Very nice, very nice. I think some nice offerings. And what's particularly attracted my attention is this Nettuno, which I might oblige and go for. Do I have anything else? Yes. I haven't for a while looked at Novelli. Novelli from Rome. They've got also quite a few beautiful Italian pens. You got some Delta offerings, the Barocco ones, Sign of Time, really nice. You got brand new Leonardo Furores. You've got a Maiora. Look at this beautiful pen right here. You've got the Montegrappa Monster, which is out, which is brand new. You've got the Mirage Visconti Mythos 80s version, which is really, really nice, apparently, amongst the more affordable ones. So quite a few here, especially Italian pens. And man, take a look at this Scribble, La Dotta with that new ebonite, really tempting. So if you're interested in buying an Italian pen and you're shopping around, I suggest Novelli. I will put all these in the description below, so that gives you a direct link to all of these sites. So there you have it. That's it for market news. Not much out there for now. Nothing that we haven't really seen yet. So there you have it. Stay tuned for my next segment. Be right back. Okay, so having looked at market news, my next segment, of course, we're going to start to take a look at the first thing that I always look at is to see paper. What have I got for you in terms of paper? Because we need paper, then we need ink. We'll do the ink swatching, and then we'll get to the pens. First of all, paper. I think several viewers pointed out. Let me just go to my overhead camera to show you what I'm talking about. You'll remember that I am still on a quest to find what, for me, will be the TOMOE River original alternative. Okay, I'm running out of inventory. I say I'm running out. I've got so much, but it goes quickly. Trust me. And so I'm set out to find the best TOMOE River alternative for me. And so what we will be doing in the coming weeks is testing all kinds of paper to ultimately come to a video that I will produce showing all these alternatives and then picking and choosing and explaining why I picked the winner. And last week we took a look at these two pads. We had the Sanson TOMOE River and the Tomoe Gawa TOMOE River paper from Yamamoto Paper. Now, when I read Tomoe Gawa TOMOE River paper, I assumed that this was the original. And there's this whole story about machines number 9 and machine number 7, and frankly, I knew the history, and sometimes the obvious completely escapes you. And here, I don't want to make a mistake, so I'm reading off a screen here to give you a little bit of history here. Original TOMOE River, the old TOMOE River, was produced by Tomoe Gawa. This is a version that cemented the paper's reputation. It is characterized by its crinkly feel, extremely thin, and high resistance to bleed through. It was discontinued around 2020 because the machine, and here's what we have, it was being produced by machine number 7. That machine became too old to repair. So the new TOMOE River that was being produced by machine number 9. So following the shutdown of machine 7, Production moved to machine number 9. While it was the same formulation, the different machine resulted in a slightly different, often criticized, written experience. It was described as stiffer, less crinkly, and having some drag. So that's the machine 9 Tomoe Gawa Tomoe River. Then what happened is that in 2021, Tomoe Gawa sold their rights to Tomoe River brand to Sanson. And that's when, in 2021, since then, the Tomoe River we have is produced by Sanson. From what I understand, Sanson's initial run at this paper were not satisfactory, but that in 2024, 2025, they've refined, I guess, the recipe, and it feels much closer to the old version, making it the current standard for most notebooks and planners, including the Obonichi Tekko. So the Obonichi Tekko of this year is supposed to have the new and improved Sanson. So we've got quite a variation. So when we buy these notebooks, the question is, what are we getting? And had I been more careful in reading the notation here, it doesn't get into, whether or not this is machine number 7 paper or machine number 9 paper, but it does talk about 2021. So given how it's phrased, I should have realized that what this Tomoe Gawa Tomoe River paper is the machine number 9 paper. So this is the second version that came right before the Sanson. And that could explain, and in fact, I'm convinced, it explains why I find that this machine number 9 Tomoe Gawa paper is not the same thing as the original machine number 7 Tomoe Gawa River paper. So now that we've got that straightened out, so my apologies. I had read about this story and the history, and I just totally forgot about it. And so I thank the viewers for pointing that out, because that's the explanation. So just for your own information, this is not the original, and it's not Sanson either. This is the machine number 9 Tomoe Gawa paper, and explains why some people, like me, find it not quite up to par. So that leads me to say, what paper are we going to be looking at this week? Well, you'll recall, and I believe it was in last week's episode, that, and I'm just looking for it. Yeah, here it is. We talked about Wonderland 222. When you go on their site, you can actually, and I hope it's still there, but at one point you could purchase what they refer to as Tomoe Gawa River paper. So Vincenzo, who had forgotten about machine number 9 and machine number 7, when he saw Tomoe Gawa paper, he assumed that this was the original Tomoe River paper, the machine number 7 paper, because I had already purchased Wonderland 222 back in 2020 was the first time I purchased it, which had it really the number 7 machine paper. So I thought I was getting the same thing. But now the question remains, and I tried to check, I looked up Wonderland 222 to see if they make a distinction, and if they come out and tell us clearly that this is the second run. In other words, this is the machine number 9 paper and not the machine number 7, but I don't see any indication. So I thought I'd test this Wonderland 222. Keep in mind that I've purchased about 3 or 4 of these notebooks, thinking that I'm getting the original. The good news is that I've been using it, in fact, I've been using it. You've seen it before, because I've been using it for my reviews. Okay, as I go along, my pen reviews are being all inscribed and written in this notebook, which is this Wonderland 222. And you know, I've been pleased with it. So, and didn't really notice a difference. But having said that, I want to see, is this TOMOE Gawa number 9 or number 7 machine paper? So we'll compare it to the original. And so that I am sure that I'm comparing it to the original, I've taken out an old Tomoe River notebook that I have, and we're going to test it with this one. This one for sure is not a problem. And it's, you know, there's also another issue. You have Tomoe River paper that's 68 GSM, and you have some that's the 52 GSM. So this I know is 52 GSM, so we should not have an issue. And we'll do a comparison of these two. That way I don't mislead you. I don't want you to go out and buy Wonderland 222 thinking you're getting the old stuff, when in fact you're getting the machine number 9 stuff, which may or may not be to your taste. So without any further ado, let's do a comparison between this Wonderland 222 and the original Tomoe River paper. Now, in terms of this notebook, I've gone through it already. It's freestyle. There's no dates anywhere. There is a little bit of a, you see there's just a little indication there where you can put, you know, the month, the day, month, and year. But that's it. There are number system here. It's a graph grid, 1 to 24. So if you have, you know, bullets, you can use it. You can also see a very faint division of the paper into 4 quarters. Just faint in case you want to use each quarter for different reasons, you know, telephone numbers during the day, you know, things to-do list, personal to-do list, etc. However you want to, depending on how you function. So, and there's really not much more to speak of. The cover is a soft cover, a nice durable cover. I usually put it into a, as I've done here, I usually put it into a leather journal, a leather cover, so it's protected even more. So there you have it. We will compare Wonderland 222 to the original machine number 7 Tomoe Gawa paper. We'll set up and we'll be right back. Okay, so we're back. So we're going to test this paper with some inks, and the 3 inks I have to propose for you today are 3 MONTBLANC inks. Realize that I haven't really talked about my MONTBLANC ink collection, and I chose 3 of my favorites. There's this Homer Greek blue. This is the Beatles psychedelic purple, very nice purple, and of course a very popular Irish green. Now I'm not sure whether this Irish green is still available. I was led to believe by something I had heard or read that it may no longer be available, in which case I have to be careful in terms of how I use it, because I love this Irish green. It usually goes into my Pelikan M100. But having said that, those are the inks for today. Some of them I kept the boxes, which are very nice. These boxes are slick. And, you know, given the price of these MONTBLANC inks, you might as well keep the boxes. So those are the 3 inks that I have to propose. And I think it's going to be they're good inks to test these 2 notebooks. So let's start. First, this is the Homer Greek blue. Beautiful bottles, of course. So this is the Wonderland. Given that I only have 3, I'm going to make the swatch a little bit bigger. Here we go. Here we go. So next, we'll do some writing. So this is MONTBLANC Homer, Greek, blue. Put that down. MONTBLANC. Homer, Greek, blue. And I gotta tell you, I feel a little more friction on the Wonderland, but the line is just as thick. I don't see it. I think you could see that. Because one of my concerns about Sanson is that sometimes I get the feeling that the ink just kind of, or the pen kind of slips. It's a little smoother, and it kind of just slips, and it just doesn't penetrate the paper. So you've got a feeling, get that kind of a feeling that you're not getting the thick line. And as you know, I like the juicy, wet line. I prefer, as opposed to a more drier, precise line, if you will. Okay, and that's okay. We, different taste for different folks, different strokes, as they say. But okay, this is the green, beautiful green. Okay, here we go. One shot was good. Okay, let me just put the ink bottle down here. Whoa, a bit too much. So this is MONTBLANC. Irish green. Just feel a little more friction on the Wonderland, but acceptable, really acceptable. And I guess, it's also, because you bought so many of these, you want to kind of convince yourself that you haven't spent money for nothing, but they're still very nice notebooks. I think I'm just having fun with this, as you could imagine. This, it gets me going. I mean, it's a nice experiment. It gives me, some content for you guys. And at the same time, it gives me enormous fountain pen therapy. So there you have it. And that's what it's all about. And it's also hopefully interesting. And it gets you, especially if you're into TOMOE River paper. And I'm a fanatic. But we shall see. And it also gets you to rediscover paper that you haven't used. Whoop, I closed that too quick. We need to do some writing, Vincenzo. Okay, so let me just make sure that that's clean. Okay. Wow, it's dripping a little more than usual. MONTBLANC. And we're just going to put Beatles, purple. I think we'll all understand each other. Yeah, just tiny little bit more. Huh. Isn't that wonderful? It may actually be the original. It may actually be the original, which would be fantastic, in my view. And I'll show you something else, which is kind of, where is the notebook? Because I have another one here. At the bottom here, it says Wonderland 222, copyright 2021. I don't know if that indicates the year that this was manufactured. And if it is, it's 2021, which appears to be the year that Sanson took over, but I think it's just a copyright year of Wonderland 222 and has nothing to do with when that particular notebook came out. So these are the two testings. So far, they're pretty even. Keep in mind that this is a slightly beigeish, a little more ivory than this one. But we'll let that dry, and then we'll come back and take a look at what the dry version of all this looks like. Be right back. Okay, so we're back with the ink swatches. They've dried up. Actually, on the original, this is the original TOMOE River. It's still drying, whereas on this Wonderland 222, it's dried up pretty quickly. And here's where I find that there is a dramatic difference. I think you can appreciate, and I want to make sure that it's not a question of, there is, let's take the blue, okay? Very little shading. There's more shading than there is sheen on the Omer blue. But on this original TOMOE River, there's a lot more sheen. Can you see that? The same thing while I'm at it. You see on the green, the sheen is there. And there's a lot of sheen as well on the purple. And as compared to the Wonderland 222, where no matter how I turn it, there's a little more on the green. You can see touches and a little bit of touch there as well. But I think the inks come a little flatter than they do on the original. So my conclusion is that this 222 is not the original TOMOE Gawa machine number 7 paper, but it's probably the machine number 9. But what I'm going to do, and I should have done it before, but I'm going to write to Wonderland 222 and ask them. And stay tuned for that. I still think it's a great writing experience on the 222. I don't regret buying it. In terms of what we see on the other side, let's take a look. Because one of the criticisms of the original is that there was a lot more see-through, a lot more ghosting. As you can see, there's the normal ghosting that you can see. There's a lot less on the 222 in terms of even the swatches. But it's comparable, I would say to you. The good news is that I'm getting the same thickness in terms of the line on both, which is really ultimately what's really important to me. It's very rare that you see sheen, when you're writing. You see some of it, but that's not a priority for me. I think it's the way it feels when I write. I want it to be smooth and wet. And I think this 222 does provide some of that. I can feel a little more texture when I write. There's a little bit of resistance there as opposed to the original. But it's certainly acceptable. And it's certainly in my sights. So that's the comparison, folks. But I will write to 222 if I can, if they have somewhere to write to, and ask them exactly what it is. And hopefully we'll get a complete answer. So there you have it. We'll be right back with the next segment. The other thing is that a lot of you have told me, why don't you look into the camera, Vince? I don't know why I don't look into the camera. You have to understand, the camera, I'm now looking into the lens of the camera. But in front of me, I've got this big screen with my face. So the natural instinct is for me to speak to myself, if you will. So you will see my eyes kind of looking up in the air somewhere and not in the camera. I'm going to try. I'm really going to try to speak to the camera. I can't speak to the lens. I need to speak to a face, you know. But so I've got a smaller, I mean, the screen is divided into parts, okay? So I've got a smaller screen with my face. So the thing I'm going to have to try to do is to concentrate on not the big one. The big, see, this gives me the big, where I'm looking right now. That's why my eyes are looking upwards. Now it's just above the camera. So that, I think, could be the solution. I just have to get used to it. So my apologies. I know a lot of you are bothered by that. I'm trying my best. Okay, let's get back to pens, inks, and paper. Next, we've done the paper, we've done the inks. Let's take a look at pens for this week. What have I got for you? Couple of things. So let me pull them out. We're going to do some kind of short unboxings. Okay, so we're back with the first pen. Some of you might recognize that logo. That's Wingsung. Came in with this cardboard box, but this beautiful pen box or pen case, which normally my Wingsung pens, I think come in wrapper. Some of them come in this kind of a small box that's used by Lamy for the Lamy safaris. I've seen that as well, but never in a box this sophisticated. So you can see it's one of the prime. It can give you an idea that it's going to be a little, just tiny bit more special than just a steel nibbed Wingsung. It came in this the sleeve. It gives you it's Yunlai, because Yunlai is the Wingsung division of more expensive pens in the end. Shows you how to fill the pen. It gives you very nice instructions. It provides also, I guess, some silicone grease because it is a piston filler. And here is the pen. Now, some of you might say, what is that, Vincent? Well, this is the Yunlai / Wingsung 629. Okay, 1629. Now, the 629, like most of these Wingsung, the 630, the 930, the 628, I believe as well, come in both flat top or cigar shaped. I chose the flat top. It is kind of, the cigar shaped people say, oh, that's a Montblanc clone. I'm not sure. I think these Wingsungs are more meant to clone Sailor, King of Pen, or Pro Gear. And King of Pen comes in two models. The Pro Gear model, which is the flat top, like this one, and it comes in the cigar shaped as well. So, which is the 1911 Sailor model, if you will. And we'll do a little bit of a comparison in a second, but you can see it's very nice when compared to the 630. I mean, this is the cigar shaped. I should have taken out in fact, let me do that. Just give me a second. I should have them here, not too far away. We'll take out. Apologize, should have had it before, but here is a Wingsung, for example. This is the Wingsung 630. So you could see basically same length. It's just there's a variation on the girth. Okay, so there you have it. The finials are very, very similar, although I got a feeling that this is more Wingsung and this is more Yunlai. I'm not sure. But there is some difference. I mean, it's the same kind of decorative satin finish gold, which I find really nice. Same type of clip. The center band is, very similar. There you have it. It's just a question of one being thicker than the other. So we'll put that aside. But what is special about this 629? And of course, I have another 629 that I want to show you, which is this one, the blue one. So in terms of the tip, they're both the same here, as you can see, just different color. The difference, and what's special about this one is that this one has a 14 karat nib, folks. So this is, I mean, you saw during the week my Hongdian D6 Han Dynasty with that beautiful 18 karat nib, and we'll revisit that pen shortly. That was my probably my first, I should say, actually I received this pen first, but you know, that was a gold nib, and this is my first gold nib, and that was my second gold nib, if you will. So I'm gonna go for it, folks. I think I'm very curious to see how these Chinese gold nibs work out. So far, I've seen gold nibs being offered by Hongdian. I know Pen BABS does, and eventually we'll get one of those. And Wingsung. I haven't seen any from Asvine or Majon yet. So this is 14 karat. It's a fine nib. We're going to do some writing with it because Wingsung or Yunlai offer other offerings. They offer the 630 with 14 karat, different types of nibs. They have, some of them are more standard than others. And I think I'm going to go for it. I'm not sure I'm going to go for that big 930 titanium 9 with 18 carats, I think. That costs like $900. I don't think I'll go there. But I'm definitely interested in exploring the 630 gold nibs. We shall see. We shall see. But so that's the first pen I have for you, is this Wingsung 629. What else have I got for you? And we'll do some writing in a minute. I've got an Asvine box. Some of you might suspect what this is. These boxes are never easy to open. And I got to tell you a little story about our friends Asvine. But before we do that, let's just open it up and see what it is. Comes with a wrench, so right away you know it's a piston. And of course, it's the new Asvine J16 in ebonite. I've been taking, there's a few reviews that have come out, including Teresa Harris has come out. I think she was the first that I saw. There's perhaps just one more, and I forget who. Shout out to Teresa. Hi, Teresa. How are you doing? Very nice review, by the way. And you beat me to it again. And she explains, and now I understood why. I have put in an order for this Asvine ebonite some time ago. I venture to say I was one of the first. And it hasn't come in yet. And all of a sudden I saw on Amazon, they've reappeared and they were being made available much quicker. So I said to myself, this is ridiculous. I pre-ordered it back in, I think it was January. And I'm only going to get my pen, at the end of February? And everybody else is getting theirs now, within a week, within a few days. You have Prime delivery, special delivery within a few days. So I said, well, what's the point of me pre-ordering it and I'm getting it later? And Teresa Harris picked up why. It's because I had originally ordered the green version of this Asvine, the kind of greenish, I believe it's green, or is it? Yeah, the green. But what I ordered it with, because they come with Yowo nibs, I ordered it with a 1.1, with a fine flex, that flex Yowo nib. Given that I'm completely bored with Yowo nibs, I wanted something different. So I chose the flex nib. At least I'll get some bounce on those stiff Yowo nibs. But that was the mistake. It looks like anybody who ordered this pen with a flex nib is going to wait a little longer. But I couldn't wait. So when I saw Teresa's review, she explained that, and I said, oh, I see. So thank you, Teresa, because I went to Amazon right away and I ordered this blue one, and I got it in 2 days. But the compromise is that, I'm not getting that flex nib on this, but that's okay. And I did not cancel my other order. I had a choice. I could have, because it looks like it hasn't even been shipped yet, which I find ridiculous. I don't know why Asvine does this. It's very unclear where to buy the pen and what comes first, what comes second. I think they should get their act together. Asvine, if you're listening, make it more simpler and straightforward, and pre-order. What is this pre-order business? Then the pen disappears, you can't order it anymore, and then it comes back. I mean, I don't understand what they're doing. I guess they have their own logic, but here it is. One of the first things that I noticed when I saw these other reviews, and I said, my God, this pen doesn't look that tantalizing, and let me explain to you why. Now, what I find is that and look, we're going to do a detailed review, and probably this week. I'm just going to show you these two. Okay, this is the Asvine C200 in ebonite, and then I showed you the J16, and I think you can suspect what I'm going to say in terms of the ebonite. But look, maybe it's just me. Stay tuned. Do I like this pen? I'm not sure. Stay tuned for my review and I'll let you know. But there you have it. So I did want to tease you with that. And hopefully I've succeeded. So that's the second pen haul for this week. There you have it. And we won't do any writing with this one because we will do that in my review. And now in my reviews, I've kind of included a section where I compare writing with the subject pen with other nibs and other pens, so you can get a sense of, have that comparison, which could be very interesting. What else have I, so those are the two pens, and I'm bracing myself. I got so many others, but I do want to, pace myself. I did also want to show you this pencil. Now, at first sight, you might think that this is a Rotring. I have several Rotrings in black and silver. This is the silver version of it, as you can see. But this is, in fact, a clone. You can tell right away there's something about the Rotring original in terms of how it feels, the weight. And when you pick this one up, it rattles. But I thought it was interesting. It doesn't have the same finish, but it is a clone. And it has a 2.0 lead as opposed to a 0.05. But there you have it. We're going to use this week as my pencil of the week. It's still, it's, a lot less cheaper. It's very cheap. And I think they have different colors. It may come in, I'm not sure if it comes in black and silver, but certainly this gold kind of attracted me. So there you have it. Those are the three pens that we will that we've are showing you for this week, and we'll do some writing with this 14K because I want to compare it to. The question is, how does it compare to some of the steel nibs? So we'll be right back, and we'll do some writing. Okay, so we're back with the Wingsung, and the Wingsung I ordered, the 14K is a medium. So I got a bunch of Wingsung nibs here. I've got the Wingsung. This is the 699, which had that original medium nib. Okay, and it's a number 6 size. I have this Wingsung 629, which is a fine nib, I believe. Yes, fine. Okay, the original nibs. Then, of course, you remember that we now have these number 8 size nibs, and it's perhaps unfair to compare a number 6 with a number 8, but I think it's an interesting comparison. This is the original number 8 Wing Sungs, which kind of is, I think they call it a fine medium. And these are the other two are the new ones. This is the new Wing Sung number 8 fine, or Yun Lai nib, if you will. And this is the new Wing Sung Yun Lai medium number 8 nib. So I think we'll have quite a variety here, and we'll have some fun comparing. And we will start with the brand new 629 gold and see where it takes us. So, by the way, I'm using the Wonderland 222. So we'll call this the Yun Lai 629 14 karat number 6 nib. Beautiful nib. Just a little bit of feedback. Not an extremely generous line for a medium. Somewhere between fine and medium, I would say to you. But it's very wet. Okay. Smooth with a touch of feedback. And what's interesting is, I don't know if you could see that. Let me just... Okay. There is just a tiny bit of bounce. Some, okay? It's not exaggerated, but it's certainly some interesting, it's got a bit of an interesting bounce. When you compare it to, let me just compare it to the 629 fine. This is the Wing Sung 629. This is a fine, number 6 steel. This nib although the line is comparable, so this medium and this fine, very little difference. This is very stiff. Is it just as wet? Not really. And not scratchy, but it kind of drags. So I find that it's sticky. It's sticky in the paper. It's not as smooth. Okay? So there is definitely a difference between the steel and the gold. Now let's compare it to the medium. Where is it? This one here. This is the medium number 6. Okay. So this is the Wing Sung $6.99, number 6 steel medium. This medium is more of a medium, so thicker line. There's no feedback. Extremely smooth. I mean, I haven't used this pen since my vacation, okay? Very wet. But stiff. I would say to you, let me just back up a little bit so you could see the 3. I would say to you that this is smoother. But stiff. So if you want a more fun experience, I think this gold nib makes a difference. I just don't think it writes like a medium though. Okay? I really don't. Now, let's compare it to, I'm going to take a fine, what have I got here? Is this the medium? I think this is the medium, number 8. Yeah. Let's look at this Wing Sung .630, number 8, steel, medium. And I got to tell you that the line is thinner. Well, it feels thinner than the 699. Is it just as wet? Probably. It's just more feedback. It's very wet. But it's got a little more bounce. You can see that? The bounce is there. Is it as bouncy as that gold? Almost. I gotta tell you, almost. Let's look at the fine. So, well, let me just get a piece of paper so I don't completely mess up the other side. Here we go. Let me just take a look at that gold again and the bounce, and we'll compare it to the number 8 size. So this again is the Yunlai gold. Without saying that it has kind of a sailor-like scribing noise, I think it's just because it's a thinner nib. It writes like a fine. In fact, I'm starting to question whether or not I had ordered a fine and I got a medium, but hopefully this will write. This is the Wing Sung .630, but it's got the new fine nib, and it's very comparable. Now, you see the bounce on this? So, bounce and writing experience. There's a little more drag here on this big nib as compared to that smaller nib on the gold here. Yeah, I mean, this is softer and a little more bounce. So this one is greater than this one. This is less. It gives you an idea of the writing experience, but it also shows you how those new Wing Sung nibs are just fabulous, in my view. So there you have it. I think that's a comparison. Now, has that convinced me to go ahead and order the 630 gold? Yes. And I think I saw something for $260. I can get just the nib section. I'm not going to order the one that has the long knife nib. I'm just going to order the standard because that's 300 plus. Compare, apples with apples and oranges with oranges. I'm going to order the standard nib, which is cheaper and a more straight line, and I don't want to spoil the comparison, but I think I'm going to go for it. Now, will I order it with a pen? Because they also come in, is it the 631 or the 632? That's kind of an ebonite finish with the gold nib, 14K. Maybe, while I'm at it for maybe, $30, $40 more, I can get a pen with it. I might go with that option as opposed to just go with the nib. Or maybe we'll just order another one of these more, acrylic versions, which are cheaper, with that gold nib. What interests me is the gold nib. I'm not sure they have an 18 karat 630. I think that big $900 titanium 930 has an 18 karat. I'm not there yet. Not there yet, folks. So there you have it. We've been experimenting, and I might want to do a comparison between this 14K and my Ongdian D6, but we're going to get to that. In fact, when we revisit some of our pens, that could be a very interesting comparison. The next thing, I just want to do some writing with this pencil. What I found is that this lead kind of, I don't know if you see it, but it's kind of turning out all kinds. It's being grooved out there. I'm not sure why, but it looks really funny. I'm wondering if when I go in and out, whether or not it's actually scratching that lead. But, you know, for the price I paid it, I can sense the difference with the original. I mean, it's thick and hard lead. So that's one of the reasons why I bought it. But that rattling gets on my nerves. So anyway, that's the pencil we use for the week. Okay. So there you have it. That's for the pen haul. Stay tuned for my next segment. Okay, so for this Pens Revisited, one of the revisits is of this pen, which is, of course, my Ongdian D6, which I featured last week, midweek. I published a video on what I find is a gorgeous pen. And before we get to some of the comments, one comment I wanted to address, and I just set up a more macro shot of the pen. Some of you mentioned that you were disappointed with the way this red acrylic, kind of a sloppy craftsmanship on the pen. You complained of spilling over. Now, I must confess that this is as close as I can get, but I have difficulty seeing that. I do see a little bit here on the gold. I guess that's what you're referring to. But I gotta tell you, there's a little bit of spillage right there, right here, just tiny bit there. But I'm having difficulty understanding how there is any major flaw there. Now, are we talking about the fact that for example, right here, we could see it, that the acrylic is spilling over the satin gold there? It could be, but that's very difficult. You could see that little section there, the acrylic is kind of colored the gold. Maybe that's what we're referring to. You see a little bit less there, a little bit less there, but a little more here. I guess, if we're going to be, for me, that's being very, very, very particular. And that's okay. I mean, we're paying $500 for this pen. I guess we should expect something closer to perfection. But I got to tell you, I don't, and I'm not, I'm hoping that Fontaine de Plume does decide to buy this pen. And if he's listening, he's such a technical guy, he'll be able to find all the flaws. And I don't know if he's got an engineering background, but he has, put it this way, is an obvious technical background that I don't have. You can see a little bit of red spillage there on the side as well. But let me tell you, I mean, we're being very particular here. And I'm even wondering whether or not that's just a reflection of the color onto the gold. Because I don't see it on this side, but I see it more on that side. But folks, I can't see it. I'm not going to complain about anything. I think the pen is, at least my version anyway, is pretty good. So, okay, so let's take a look at the other pen. We'll get rid of this macro shot. We'll go back to my original camera and continue this revisit of this, what I think is a Chinese grave. Okay, so we're back. We're going to do some writing with this pen again, just to see. I haven't written with this pen, maybe occasionally during the week, but it really since my review of last week. So essentially, we're talking about a week without having really written with the pen. Let's just see what gives here. Let me tell you, folks. Now, this is a soft nib. And again, the immediate reaction, and even now, a week later, is that, it's a little bit like a Ferrari, difficult to control. It goes a little too quick for me. It's so wet that it kind of, and so smooth that it kind of writes by itself. It's frightening. And that's why I compared it to my M1000. And some of you asked me to compare it to a couple of pens. So that's what I propose to do now. I mean, the pen writes smoothly. So far, there is no dry nib issue on the pen. It is a little bit, in French we say flayé, or in Quebec French we say flayé, which means it's a little bit over the top. And not everybody can appreciate that kind of ornamental look. But I got to tell you, I compared to some of the Monte Grappas, and that's where it fits in. I love it, and it is the kind of pen that you either hate or love. I think it's worth every penny, but I can see why some people would not appreciate all this noise as they would see it, but you've got to appreciate the effort that was put into putting this pen together. That's for sure. So anyway, now I keep comparing it to my Pelican M1000. Some of you pointed out in my video that this thing looked like it was skipping. It probably was because it had no ink left, but I've inked it since, and let's just compare it. So this is exactly the same feeling. It's exactly the same feeling. Now, this is even more ridiculous because it kind of runs away from you even more. To top it off, it is a broad. Is it a broad nib or a medium nib? God, I forgot. No, it's a medium nib, which writes like a broad. I mean, it's so wet and so springy. Now, you see the spring? Let me just, you can see it. It's close. You see how springy that is? Now, let's compare. I mean, this one is probably not as springy. Yeah, not as springy as the M1000. It's a bigger nib, but it's got the same feel, if you know what I mean, where it kind of runs away from you. Now, you've asked me to compare it to first of all, the Majon. We'll compare it to the Moonman nib, okay? Well, the Moonman nib is well, it doesn't even write. I won't even compare it to the Moonman because it's stiff, okay? But we can certainly compare it to you've seen this one. This is the fine New Wing Sung. Number 8, fine. Yeah, there's no comparison. That is so much smoother and springier than the Wing Sung number 8. You've asked me also to compare it to the Majon 140. Here's my P140. Now, I don't have this is the older version of the Expedition nib, which we all know is much springier than the new one. So this is the Majon P140 number 8 medium sun nib. I mean, the spring is here, but it's, and you know, one is a medium and the other one is a fine, so it's not easy to compare. But I would say to you that the Dieman is much, much softer, even much softer than even the original old styled Expedition nib, definitely. And if you compare it to the new, which is, this one's a fine, this, or no, this is an extra fine, but this is the new Majon. I mean, this thing is stiff. The new sun nib, yeah. I mean, apart from the fact that we're dealing with an extra fine, the bounce is just not there. No bounce. There's really no bounce on that new nib, which is unfortunate. But there you have it. You asked for that comparison. So again, I'm going to insist to say to you that it is very close to my Pelican M1000. Very, very close in terms of how it runs away from you. Okay, so that's the first pen I wanted to revisit. The next one that I would like to revisit is this one here. One of the viewers asked, this is the Leonardo Momento Magico Bella Notte, or Bella di Notte. Bella Notte, Bella Notte. This is a pen I had reviewed some time ago. I haven't used it since, frankly. The viewer asked, would you sell this pen? I'm willing to pay for it more than what you paid for it. And I told the viewer that I would use that as a springboard to create some content and give my decision during this week's recap. So here we are. This is the Momento Magico. Now, just to show you again, I keep saying how our tastes can vary from week to week, month to month, and God knows from year to year. When I originally reviewed this pen, I mean, I think I gave it a thumbs up because it is a nice pen. But all of this pink kind of, you know, I don't want to sound, you know, too macho, but it wasn't the greatest, you know, in terms of my likes and dislikes. But I got to tell you, I take a look at the pen today, with all these crazy resins that have come out since I got this pen. You know, we got Scribble doing all kinds. We've got Leonardo with all kinds. We've got, you know, all these Jonathan Brooke editions. I really like this resin. So I kind of grew fond of it. And all of a sudden, it looks a little more purple than pink to me. And I started writing with this pen, and to my great surprise, it just wrote as if I had, you know, inked it yesterday. So this is the Leonardo. Look at this. Momento Magico. Bella Notte. Yes, it has a Yowo nib. And yes, it's a broad nib. So it's very wet and smooth. But it has this wonderful feedback. Pencil-like feedback. The writing experience is really, really nice. I forget what I said exactly at the time I reviewed this pen. And like I said, you've got to be careful because it kind of, it can vary from period to period. So to that wonderful viewer who asked me the question, would you part with this? I'm sorry, dear, I don't think I will. The pink is gone. All of a sudden, I like this color. It's going to be my pen. I'm putting it into my weekly, currently inked. It's going into my weapons for next week. It's like writing on a chalkboard with some precision, and I got to tell you, finely tuned Leonardo. It's got that rose gold nib. It's not gold, it's steel, but it writes like gold. It doesn't have the spring of the gold, but it certainly is smooth. And you know what? This resin is kind of grown on me. So I guess I have to thank the viewer for bringing this pen back to my attention. And it certainly epitomizes this section or this segment, which is Pens Revisited, because it gets you to discover pens that you haven't used in some time. And sometimes you get to appreciate them more than when you originally purchased. So it's going into my weapons for next week. And I'm sorry, I don't normally sell my pens. I don't like selling my pens. And I think this confirms that you shouldn't. Unless you're really, really given up, you should always revisit and take out some of the older pens you have and get them going again, and you'd be surprised. The only fault that I see is that you can see a little bit of, kind of staining there, but that's normal. There's nothing unusual about it. And that resin, all of a sudden, put it this way, if I'm going to like a pen that's this flyé, as they say in French or Quebec French, why wouldn't I like a pen like that? So there you have it. So I'm sorry, I'm not going to part my way with it. So that's another pen revisited. I've got one more to show you, 1 second. Or a few more to show you, 1 second. Okay, I'm back. One of the pens, or some of the pens that I wanted to revisit, let me just move this microphone out of the way, are the pens that I was using last week, which were a bunch of Jinhaos that I decided to ink up and replace some of the nibs. And what I've discovered, so if I remove this from my pen case, is that these three, which are the skeleton Jinhao 100s, if you will, all quickly dried up on me. They did not last beyond the weekend, frankly. Monday, Tuesday, they were effectively gone in terms of dryness. So those dried up on me real quick. But I can't say the same for the others. I think the best one was this one. And to my great surprise, I really enjoyed the Kegeloo nib on this thing. Not to my great surprise, but the surprise came when it didn't dry up. And now hopefully it'll write and it won't embarrass me here, but it wrote until yesterday anyway. Yeah, there you go. Jinhao 100. And I also wanted to see how those diplomats, it's got the diplomat, what was it, royal blue, I believe it was, just to see how that ink was performing. And very nice. Now, I believe that the writing experience, I got to tell you, was very comparable to this other Jinhao 100, which was the recent purchase, where I left the Jinhao nib. Now let's just see if this dried up. No, it didn't. It's not a Diplomat ink, but comparable writing experience. And I wrote with this pen all week. Very nice. I mean, they're both fairly stiff, but, you know, for an everyday carry where you don't have to worry about, you know, expensive pens and all the rest of it. This one, I believe, had another, this one had the Majon. Does this, I believe this was okay. No, the Ongdian. It has the Ongdian. So this is the Jinhao, another Jinhao 100. This one had the, what was it, the Burgundy Diplomat ink, I believe. Now this was a little bit softer, the nib, because it's the Ongdian, softer and finer, even though it's a medium, but a little more precise. And I have a similar journal to this, so you can see that if I have to, you know, write in those grids, a finer nib is what you need. So I realized that in my weapons, I always need something that's a little finer, as opposed to taking notes on a bigger pad where you could, you know, just write a little bit bigger. Even this cheap flex nib worked kind of okay. Nice scribing knives. So they all kind of performed really well. Like I said, and let me just see, this one here was a little iffy at the beginning, but just because it's metal. But let me just see if it, this one has that lemon nib. Yeah, you can see that it just a little bit dried up on me here. Jinhao, JD, you know, it's a clone of a Parker Duofold, that essentially. So it kind of, and you know, this nib usually is really spot on, but you could see it just a little bit of a false start. Once it gets going, it's juicy and wet. But I think because of the metal, or maybe the sleeve is not as good as those Jinhao 100s. Really, really nice. By the way, the scribble, if we're going to compare softness, actually, let's just see. Yeah, this is comparable. This is a fine nib. It's comparable to this thing. It really is. In fact. I think this has a little more surface tension. So you have a little more control with this nib than you do with this one. This one also, I think part of the issue, not the issue, but part of the writing experience comes from that nib, which has got that just a little, you know, ball there, and it's kind of just Waverly type of nib, as opposed to the scribble, which really the nib is fairly, there's a ball there, but it's fairly straight, so you get a very different feel. This one gives you a lot more control when you write than this, but the writing experience is different, but it's just like so smooth. Very, very nice. Different writing experience, but definitely worth the every penny, in my view. Lastly, this one here, this one was okay. I think the ink dried up on me a little bit. This one has a Bach, and that's probably why. So this is the Jinhao. No, it's okay, actually. Jinhao 100. This has the Bach nib. Burgundy ink. So that ink, Diplomat, as one would expect, you know, behaved fairly well, in my view. It's actually surprising. This one, I think I'm mixing it up because I had the same ink in this one, and in this one, everything dried up. So there you have it, the Jinhaos. Good pens to have. You know, you need pen. You want to go out and put them in your bag, throw them in, and not worry about losing them or anything. And you want to carry just 2 or 3 so you have different colors. Go on vacation on a beach, not worry about sand getting in them, or you know, or something like that. Poolside, you're writing your journal, you're on vacation. You don't want to, you know, bring with you your Homo sapien and run the risk of dropping it, God forbid, in a chlorine-filled pool. You know what? Or you're on a boat somewhere, or whatever it is. You're fishing, or you're next to a fountain in Rome, and you drop the pen in Fontana di Trevi. You know, you can bring your Jinhao 100 and not worry about it. So there you have it, folks. That's Pens Revisited. Stay tuned for the next segment. Okay, so we're back for my next segment, which is what kind of weapons will I bring with me, or will I be playing with next week? Of course, I always try to think of an original theme or some guiding parameter that determines what pens I will be using in any particular week. And this week, what I decided, because of that 14 karat 629 Yunlai or Wing Sung pen, that's going to go into my pen case, along with the Leonardo Bella di Notte or Bella Notte, which I rediscovered, which I'm going to keep. So they're going to go in. I decided that I would take out a bunch of gold nibs, most of which are fine, but they're gold, so that I could write with those pens and compare it to the 629 to see if ultimately I will purchase more Chinese gold nibs. It's going to give me an idea of the gold nib that I have in my collection, most of them in kind of grail-like pens, and see whether or not, you know, there's any value there in going in the Chinese market and seeing what they have to offer. So, without any further ado, here are my weapons. First of all, because of the special nature of those pens, they're going to go into this special pen case that I keep only for premium pens, given that it cost me so much money, Japanese leather, etc., etc. It's beautiful. So they're all here. Those are my weapons for next week. So I'm going to take them out one at a time, do some writing with them, and see what gives. Okay, let's start. First one. Now, this is not a special pen. Far from it. It's a Navlor Nautilus. But what it does have that's special, and it's one of the probably the only reason why I like this pen, because their nibs, the Navlar nibs, I think are you know, below standard in my view. But what I did is I replaced the nib with a Ancora nib, which is an Italian, you know, pen maker that's been around for a while. It's an 18 karat Ancora. They've been around since 1919. Ancora 18 karat nib. So let's take a look at, I believe I put in, and you'll forgive me because some of these pens were empty and I just filled them without really washing them out. So there may be some leftover color. I think there was probably I forget what color was in there before, and we'll see what color I put in now. So this is the Nautilus Nautilus, but it has a but with a 18 karat Ancora number 6 nib, which is spectacular, folks. Really, really nice. Yeah, it's got some soft bounce. So it's going to be fun to compare it to my Hongdian, which is, by the way, if I didn't mention it, it's going into my weapons. The next pen is this Opera Master Visconti. Beautiful pen. Very fine nib. That's my recollection. I've put in here, I think I ended up putting in the green, what's it called? Irish green from Montblanc, but there was remnants of blue ink, so that's why it came out so dark. Let's see, I think I put Irish green in this one as well. So this is the, sorry, that was me, Visconti Opera Master. It's a fine nib that writes really fine. It writes almost like an extra, or is it an extra fine? 1 second. No, it's a fine. But it really writes like an extra fine. Got some interesting feedback. For those of you who like scribing, you've sure got it with this. It's not scratchy at all, but very fine and very dry. So when it comes to writing notes in that little grid, this pen will do just fine. Okay, next on my list, Mr. Cypress is one of my pens from Mr. Cypress, and in particular focus is their 18 karat in-house nib. So this is a Mr. Cypress. (18 karat). Is this a fine or a medium? It's a fine. Probably the closest thing, the closest nib to sound like a sailor nib. I don't think it has the same bounce. Because it's 18 karat. I found that the Cypress, and too bad I should have chosen one to show you, but the Cypress, Mr. Cypress 14 karat nib is bouncier than the 18 karat nib. Very thick line. It's got that Irish green from Montblanc. I'm going to have some fun with this Mr. Cypress. It does have a tendency to dry up on me, at least that's my recollection, but we'll revisit next week. We'll see if it holds up. I sure hope that it does, because I think it's because of the drying nib issues that I don't use these pens more often. Talking about dry nib, here's my Parker Duofold, my original Grail pen. Beautiful nib, but it dries up on me. So this is the Parker Now, as you can see, it had red ink in it. It was empty, and I didn't clean it out and just put the purple from Montblanc. The nib is fabulous. But anyway, that's my experience, and we'll see. We'll see if it holds up this week, but my experience is that it dries up a little too quick for my taste. Okay, so That's the next one. Parker Duofel. Beautiful pen. All these pens I've reviewed, by the way. You'll find a detailed review of all these pens on my channel. Now let me just push that so I can put this into focus. Of course, if I'm going to enjoy a fine nib, I have to include this beautiful Homo sapien. So this is the Visconti Homo sapiens Bronze Age. Now, I know that Hemingway Jones, I believe, this week had in his live show, was talking about, pens that are just not up to snuff. And this pen, I think, has got such a bad reputation because of their old nibs. But my experience, based on what I'm seeing lately, is that the nibs that are on these pens these days are much, much better than what they used to be. I think it was that Palladium 22 nib that just destroyed the reputation of this pen. That's gone. It's now got an 18 karat rose gold nib. And before I bought this pen, I went to two pen shops. I went to a pen shop here in Canada, and it was just too expensive here, and tested a nib, and it was perfect. I ended up buying this pen in Rome, and I know I tested the pen when I was at the Visconti store in Florence, and it worked just fine. I talked about the nib with the woman who was running the store, and she said, well, we've improved, and she explained to me that, these are much better now, and the quality is much better. And then I ended up buying this pen at another store in Rome, and Novelli, and again, he had me test it, and it was nice. So, not to say that that is an accurate sampling, because of only two, but I tested one pen in Florence, one in Montreal, Canada, and one in Rome, Italy, and they were all really, really nice. I ended up buying it at Novelli, but for no other reason that he gave me the best discount. There you have it. So that's my Homo sapiens, and I think it's got a bad rap for nothing. If you can get your hands on, and if you have the inclination and can afford it, I say go for it, folks. You will never find, there's no other pen like it. It's as simple as that. What else have I got for you? One more, the rest you've seen already, is this Santini. Now, is this a medium or a fine? Oh, gee whiz. I think it's a fine. Yeah. So this is a Santini. Yeah, it's a fine. Boreal. And it's got an 18 karat fine nib. Now I must say that their nibs are really bouncy. They feel much thinner than other nibs. And that's what I think gives them their bounce, frankly. But again, just a beautiful fine nib. Aren't you guys proud of me that I've dropped altogether my stubs. It's like I don't think I have any stubs that I'm using on a regular basis. And these fine nibs have just blown me away. So I'm back to the origins of these pens, as they say. So here are my weapons for next week. Of course, we've got my 629 Wing Sung, which I'm going to be testing. I'm going to, play around with this Bellanotte while I have it there. There's my clone that we mentioned, and my Hongdian haven't seen anything, have you? Here we go. So there's my weapon. There are my weapons for next week. As I'm mentioning, 629, my Rotring clone, my Leonardo, and my Ongdian D6. Here's my Santini, my Ancora nib, my Visconti, my Mr. Cypress, my Parker, and my Homo sapiens. Beautiful. I think I'm going to enjoy this week. Great writing, both at the office and at home. We're going to enjoy this. And we're going to enjoy this beautiful pen case as well. Why not? I don't take it out too often, but it's coming out this week. So there you have it. Stay tuned for my next segment. Okay, so we're back for the last segment, which is YouTube reviews. First of all, reviews that I caught at my interest from other reviewers. First of all, Blake's Broadcast has a review of a Leonardo pen. It's not the pen itself that I wanted you to pay attention to, but more the titanium nibs that come with these Leonardo pens. Because of course you've got the choice with Leonardo now. You've got steel number 6, which are essentially Yowo. You've got 14 karat gold, which are essentially Yowo. You've got 18 karat gold, which appear to be in-house. You've got those steel number 8 nibs, which I believe are kind of Bacchish looking in any event, but they're doing something to them to make them write beautifully. And then you've got the titanium version. So if you don't want to spend the money for the gold, but want a little more than the steel, a titanium nib is an alternative. Now, I know Blake's corrects himself. They're not in-house, I don't think. I think they're Bach titanium nibs, but, they work them, they brand them, and it is a titanium nib, and it gives you that little bit of a different writing experience. So if you're interested in seeing how a number 8 titanium-sized nib on a Leonardo looks and feels, Blake's Broadcast. Second, Wonders Unlocked. My friend from Australia, I believe, he's going for it. He's gone nib crazy, absolutely nib crazy. He did a previous review on some very expensive nibs that he purchased from FP Nibs, and now he's purchased a bunch of semi-flex and flex nibs on FP Nibs, something that I did some time ago, by the way. You're right, for those of you who follow my channel. And he presents various, I think most of them are steel, Schmidts, the Yowos, etc., that have been slightly modified. So again, if you're looking to kind of get a modified look on your boring Schmidt, Bach, or Yowo nibs, take a look at that video. He offers some suggestions and gives you some looks there that may be very, very interesting. Next is Doodlebud. He's got a review on the 54T, a smaller version. I think these pens are overpriced, frankly. I think they're, be it this smaller one or the bigger one, both have steel nibs and they're being sold a lot of money, but they have this very interesting look. They're coned-like. They resemble a lot the Gravitas, frankly, and they got that special vacuum filling system, which rivals the 823, and that's the case that's being made by Doodlebud. But if you're interested in 54T, he's reviewing a pen that's a little more affordable than the bigger version. So there you have it. So those were the 3 that I wanted to shout out. In terms of my own reviews, well, I've got my recaps every week, which can be consumed at any time, frankly, because we go over fountain pens, inks, and paper. And you got timestamps, so anything, take a look at the timestamps. There may be something there that might interest you. Click, and you've got almost 4 or 5 separate videos there that can easily be very informative or entertaining. And, of course, I've got my review of my Ongdian D6. I've got a short out that I put out just a couple of days ago on how I store my inks. That may be of interest as well. So take a look at that if you haven't seen it yet. And what have I got in store for you next week? Well, I think Asvine J16's got a place in my heart. I'm not quite convinced about that pen, but stay tuned. I need to play around with it a little more, do some comparisons, and I'll give you my own point of view. I know there's some reviewers have already reviewed the pen, and I think I've got my own view on that pen. And it may be the first Asvine disappointment in a long time, but I may be wrong. Stay tuned for that. And of course, we're going to have we've got all kinds of other things that are still not been published, and I show you my kind of thumbnails and all the videos that need to be processed. I'm also working on a video. I think I'm going to present to you, maybe perhaps a shorter one. I've got an ink review that I've got to put up, and of Van Dieman inks, and I'm going to do a video on all my leather pen cases. And no, I've done a video on all my leather pen cases, but I realize I haven't never done one on my leather covers. And there appears to be some interest there in questions, so I can show you all the covers I have, and then I could, also give you links to where you can buy them, and kind of give you variety, show them to you firsthand, see what's good and how they can help you, and various sizes, etc. So stay tuned for that. I think I'm going to put that together sometime soon. And of course, the thumbnail that I've just showed you shows you all kinds of other things that are up and going. So thank you very much for joining me. That completes my recap for February the 15th, 2026. Please enjoy your families. Super Bowl is gone. Now we're doing Olympics, right? We're doing Olympics. I'm a hockey fan. I'm hoping that Canada comes out a winner, but I've got Italy in my back heart, and at the moment that I'm taping this particular segment, they're leading in terms of medals, which is great news for Italy. And Canada's a little way back, but I understand some of the more prominent athletes and competitions are coming up, so hopefully we'll gain on the Italians. It would be nothing like Canada versus Italy. Then it really tear my heart. But having said all of that, enjoy the Olympics, but take some time to enjoy your fountain pen hobby. I think it gives us all a lot of therapy, and God knows we need it these days. So take care and be well. Ciao.